Well, good morning, good afternoon, depending when you're joining us today. This is Marta Rocamora. I'm the CEO and founder of GroundInn Innovation. I'll tell a little bit more about ourselves, but today I'm going to be your host and actually part of the discussion with the wonderful Igor that is taking the time to join us. I believe today you're joining us from, where are you based today, Igor?
We are based in Gdansk in Poland.
Okay, fantastic. So you're joining us from there, but everybody, well, not everybody knows yet, but you've actually been traveling quite a bit in the past. With your company now has over 50 countries where they represent. I think you have businesses with almost 500 different co-workings, and really you're helping us. And I say us because in the community world, really, when there is people that are helping with the whole tech component, you're helping making the magic reality by making it much more tangible. So before we dive into it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about Endcards as the founder? And right now, I think you're also the head product and business development for Endcards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Marta, for the introduction. It's amazing to be here, and it's my great pleasure to chat with you today. I'm Igor for SpaceBring, formerly known as Endcards. Our company is a beating heart of co-working space operations to save time, boost efficiency, and enhance customer experience. And that's all in your pocket, right? So with our product, we've started over 7 years ago. With my co-founder Ross, and we've always had this vision of enhancing sharing space economy, of making co-working spaces and flexible and shared spaces a bit more open, a bit more accessible and easy to use. And so, with that sort of vision and mission, we've embarked on a journey to bring our product over. To make it available to co-working spaces the world over. So with out of our headquarters in Gdansk, we're starting expanding, and we're now operating in over 50 countries, as you correctly pointed out. Thank you for doing the research. So we work with the co-working spaces, flexible spaces, shared spaces of all sorts and kinds, like maker spaces, spaces with childcare, beauty co-working spaces, medical co-working spaces. So much diversity. There's so much diversity in this area, and with our product, we just make it so much easier to operate the spaces for people, for folks like me and you to just go on the app and just book a desk, come in for a day of work, book a meeting room, join the community, connect with people there. And that's all from the palm of your hand, right? So this is the true power of mobility brought over to the co-working and shared space industry. So that's what SpaceBring is all about.
I love it. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying the magic, in the palm of your hand, everything is well connected. And for those who don't know us at GroundInn, we're all about the power of community. Like we have an agency that is focusing on building community in real life, and for us, it's all about shared spaces, whether it's co-working, co-living, third spaces, social clubs, and the many other types of third spaces that will be appearing as we continue evolving and being able to get I say like the marriage between technology and real estate. I think we're going to see a lot of new concepts coming up. So because we're so passionate about that, when we found out about SpaceBring, it was like, that's fantastic to see a platform that is not only very well thought out and really has community as its core. It really is making it accessible and figure out a way how to make it approachable. And like myself, we're started in the co-working space, which I think is probably one of the guess most mature when it comes to the third space environment and how to do community in a way that we really need to engage and think about it, as opposed to maybe other spaces. Like I'm going to give the example of co-living because we work a lot with co-living as well. Where building community might happen a bit more naturally because you're already engaging sharing the living space, whereas when there's the co-working component, you have to be more intentional and think about why are people going into the office nowadays? Why should they leave the comfort of their home, especially after COVID, that people became a bit more hybrid, and try to figure out what they should be sharing. That being said, like I guess Igor, I'm curious to know the I guess the origin of the idea. How did you come up with your co-founder? What was like maybe the frustration that you were leaving as well, that you decide like, hey, this could be the place where you should be helping and developing your business concept.
Well, first of all, I couldn't agree more with you that the co-working spaces and share spaces they thrive on the power of community, and this sort of like amazing spirit of collaboration and networking, and there's just the support that you get at such kind of from this diverse customer basis of co-working spaces where you get to meet all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds. It's just more motivating. It just makes it makes us more productive. And as a proof of that, we both know that last year's co-working, the global co-working study, it actually showed that 84% of members, they said that they actually feel more motivated and productive in a co-working environment than anywhere else. And that's like actually, I guess, as a testament of how important it is for our niche. Now, I guess me and my co-founder, we both we come from there as well. We used to work in a corporation, and we all know what that looks like. Like gray walls, cubicles. Just like your very traditional single office environment. And I guess back in the days, the when the working movement was just getting started, me and my co-founder, we were always aspiring to make a great contribution, to build something that matters, to create something that is genuinely helpful and genuinely useful to people and businesses alike. And so we started working on something, on some interesting projects, exploring, and that brought us into co-working spaces. Just many years ago, just before co-working spaces were even like, we did, just like everyone else, we did go to a coffee shop, of course. Like, but when you need to have that meeting with someone important, you just can't have someone's dog barking and like a child screaming at mom, I want that ice cream. So yeah, we did discover that there are spaces like co-working spaces, and then but that we were like appalled to see that they're not that full. Like, and it's kind of hard to find, a little bit hard to book. You need to go in there, get some kind of stamp cards, like it. I don't know, just the way that it was all organized wasn't super efficient. So we thought, aha, that was our aha moment, when we were like, okay, this must be it. There's an opportunity here to use technology to facilitate this process of helping people find use co-working spaces. Because I think that a lot of these co-working spaces, they really do great at like at operation, at the hospitality, at the service, and even in the interior design. I've seen some of the most amazing co-working interiors. But when it comes to technology, it's sometimes not as efficient. Yeah, we saw this opportunity and we jumped on it. We found the first customers before we even built SpaceBring. And then they were ready to pay because they really also recognize this, how important it is to have like a nice system to manage it all and like just have members access your services easily. And yeah, it just grew like it's like skyrocketed afterwards, right? We've now expanded to lots of countries, hundreds of co-working spaces using our product, and we're really humbled by this growth, but we're also very grateful, and we're hopeful of what's to come when we get our hands on thousands and tens of thousands of co-working operations.
Good. I do wish you that. When people, when they start thinking like co-working or community, sometimes it seems like, oh, this must be quite simple to operate. No, like this is about sharing, and I think maybe that's the original what people have a bit of a preconceived idea, and when you start to dive into it, you start to realize that, hey, building community is actually, I'm not going to say, how can I say, difficult, but it is quite complex and it requires a lot of different moving parts to connect properly together. And so, like, that's what I love about the simplicity and the well user experience that you're providing with SpaceBring. It's about thinking as like as simple as like how we're going to billing our members properly, how are we going to give them the experience where they can talk to one another and connect with one another, how they're going to be booking the space, how they're going to find out depending on the level of access that they already have. Are they members already? Are they coming only sometimes? What kind of membership they might have? Are they only coming for certain events? So there is really a lot of thought process that is put into it. And me, for someone that is building strategy in multiple levels, I really recognize, when something seems like smooth and simple, like an athlete, there is a lot of work and intention that has been put behind, so you can flow this seamlessly.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Marta, and I just want to mention here that of course there are gated communities, right? The communities where like you need to pay a couple grand to enter, and then it's like behind the walls you need to qualify. But that's not the type of communities we're talking here about. We're talking about a shared space, open communities where like-minded individuals come together and create something amazing. And building this type of community requires inclusion, right? Inclusion and diversity. And this is some of the co-working values, some of the values that our company cherishes as well. But to build something inclusive, you must make it simple. Inclusive requires simplicity. And that's why our product is from ground up, is the foundation of our product, is ease of use, simplicity, intuitive. Because of this, without this, you can't really build a community, in our opinion. What do you
It's
think?
No, it's 100% true. Like as you said, like there are many spaces where you want to be, of course, even if you're inclusive, being selective. In like especially in the co-working world, there is a lot about certain business acumen, and you want to curate who are the people that you're sharing with. But that being said, when it comes to the co-working values in general of the industry, it is about that diversity. We know that's the strength, and it's about being inclusive to give the chance and the opportunity for people to be part of. So definitely it's a must, and I agree with you that it comes with like making it simple and easy for people to be able to understand it. And also from an operator perspective, I have to say, Igor, like in general, like and not only for co-working, third spaces, like people that tend to be in the brick and mortar and real estate, like it's not that tech is not their forte, but there is in general is not where they're most savvy. Like they understand that there's a benefit there. Like we've seen now the prop tech industry growing tremendously, and it's going to continue growing because they're seeing the value it helps from the construction, from the development, from operating and doing the proper property management. So that's great. But you have to say, like the smaller, medium size, owners of spaces, it might not be the thing that they're most comfortable with. So to be able not only to have a platform that is simple, but have a team that is there, responsive, helping you with the onboarding, understanding how to go about it, it really is a tremendous value. Like
I totally agree with you. But you know what? And some of the smaller co-working spaces and smaller operators with our product, honestly, blow some of the big names out of water because our product is just generation, a mile, a light years ahead of whatever some of the big names already have. But you know that. But that kind of like, it's not without its challenges, of course, right? Because as a company that builds software for many different kind of stakeholders, right? And in our product, there is an operator who is our primary customer, right? Who is like contracting with us and like thinking about it, Scott. But there's also the user, the member, the non-members side to it, and we believe it's if not equally, if not more than equally important than the operator side. This is something that stands SpaceBring apart from anyone else in the market because we believe that users and member happiness are actually a catalyst of co-working space success and growth. And so we prioritize member experience in our products, but we always need to balance between this sort of, like what administrators need and why they buy our product, and also what members need and why they use the product. And I remember sponsoring last year's co-working member survey in one of the countries we were active, and the result of the survey was quite striking. The co-working space tenants that actually paid for services, right? Like company managers or company owners who contracted, and also co-working space managers themselves. Actually, they responded that like the top three reasons why the tenants choose co-working spaces are like the cost, the something like extra services, amenities available, something like that, right? But then SpaceBring also sponsored a member survey, which was, I think, was unprecedented, because we surveyed like over 1,000 users of like actual regular members in co-working space. We asked them the same questions: why do you work at co-working space? And they told us the top three reasons are, you will never guess it: events, community, the social environment. And it was striking just to what degree the operators and their tenants, they're like somewhat different perspective on the reasons for being there. And as an operator, by the way, Mar, I just wanted to pick your brain on that as well. Like, how, from the co-working perspective, you also do need to balance these needs, right? Like the needs of people who actually pay rent, or like, let's say, company manager, decision makers, but also the needs of people, tenants who are moving in. Like, how do you balance these needs as an operator?
Listen, it's and it depends on the size of the operations that you're running. Like, for instance, I'm gonna give you examples on back when I used to operate, really large buildings. So I used to be the head of a community for WeWork in different countries, and we were saying all the time, like, there is one person that is gonna be the one that is actually paying the bill. It's gonna be the one that is probably thinking of their employees, of trying to give them the best possible experience. So that's why they're joining. They want to make sure that, even, let's say, even if they're really big corporation brands that have their own offices, they want to almost congratulate part of their teams that to be able to have access to the co-working space, to be more innovative, to challenge a bit the ideas of how they're doing things, or they're expanding in different countries. And that's one way of thinking. And then there's the actual user on the day to day that is not paying the bill, but is the one that, like you were saying, like, that is living the experience, that is going to give you the feedback of what's working, what's not working. And at the end of the day, they're all in contact. So you need to think of these, I guess, two part of the customer experience in order to be able to cater for both. Yes, of course, there is one that is paying the bill, and even if it is the founder or owner that is actually living the experience as well, they might have different needs than the team on the day to day. And how we go about it, and I think all the more sophisticated owners, they're very conscious of that, and they cater to both of them. Like, they make sure that there is events, community that is helpful for the ambience and the vibe that is happening, but also that you're providing the services, even the data as well, that might be most key for the one that is paying the bill, that requires to know how are they using the space. Is it helpful? Like, am I maybe like contracting an office space that is too big for the amount of people that are coming? If they're coming on today, like, do I need to have an option that is more flexible? So you need to be able to have those conversations to provide the service that makes sense for the users in accordance to what they're trying to achieve as a business. And to be fair, like, Igor, is thanks to like doing a lot of this type of conversation that I realized that co-working is going to go beyond what it used to be. There's more about, like, the startup world, the smaller companies that they're doing this until they can afford their own office space. And now we're seeing, like, well, actually the larger corporations, they also want to have co-working spaces or think like a co-working even of their own real estate. I'm curious to see, there's some that are starting to contact you about managing their own space for their own employees, and considering SpaceBring as an option, almost of a digital workplace or not. But I definitely am having conversations with companies where they're figuring out that, hey, we need to think more like a co-working, at least, because I think there was a survey. It was Expedia who did that, like, last year, that the word vibe was up on Google search more than 1,100%. To give you an example, when people are considering where to work, where to live, and even like choosing what company they want to be part of. So, culture matters, and co-working and how you create that experience is really important in getting the right talent to work for you. So
So
yeah.
that's quite mesmerizing for me, honestly, because every time I think about it, because the listening to your customers, observing customers, understanding them is just is a treasure trove, right? Just for learning, for understanding them better, and for building better experience and better products. And I think in many ways, because co-working operators are listening to people, listening to members more now, because of that, we see a surge in this sort of like a specialized co-working spaces that specialize in childcare, in co-warehousing, right, or some kind of provide like a beauty co-working services, because the operators started to listen more to what people actually need, and started to offer what people need, but also use that as one of the diversification differentiation points to like stand themselves apart from another space around the corner. So yeah, just kind of the search of these specialized spaces and the hybrid models that they offer is quite interesting, and we see that as a lot, of course, on SpaceBring. We do get a lot of requests from single office environments, like you mentioned, which are starting to think like co-working. Although I think the definition of co-working from their perspective is somewhat different, right? I think what they're thinking more is more of a sort of like an open space, right? Of some of the properties of the co-working spaces are generalized as co-working, but I think what co-working truly is the diversity that is brought, but this multitude of tenants, multitude of backgrounds, and this is something that is hard to replicate at single office environments. And we on SpaceBring do not believe that it's the future. At no point I've ever thought that, oh, it's time for us to move to like a traditional office and start spending our hard-earned cash on buying printers, chairs, and refrigerators, for our office. Let alone like thinking of some kind of community management and event programming. I'm sure that smart companies know that what non-profile expenses and assets are, right, and they try to minimize that. And going forward, we'll only see, I'm sure, more of a like a small and mid SMEs kind of moving into co-working, flexible offices with various degrees of community services, and then perhaps on the larger corporations like, I don't know, Google or Microsoft will be able to afford having like a campus, right? So to build, realizing the ambitions and dreams of their founders to build like a circular, triangular, square, or whatever spaces they want. Right? But yeah, we envision a future where co-working spaces are a part of this like urban infrastructure, almost to the point of becoming like a service center, like a service center where you come and you get, if you need a space, then you get a space. If you need like accounting services, you get that support, and professional services, wellness. A lot of spaces offer now like, yoga and gym classes. So I think a bit more in that direction. What do you see? What do you see, Marta? What do you observe where you are at?
I mean, in the last say like decade, what I've observed is that if co-working used to be something thought out more in the urban area, let's put it this way, now it's popping out everywhere in the smaller, medium-sized cities, in the rural. Like I was just in Canada last week, visiting some potential clients up north from the Montreal, and we were seeing in the tiniest cities even like co-working that are operating without any people, like being automated, that you come with a code, but having fantastic facilities, which to me is always a bit of a shock, because I always think, okay, co-working needs to have people, because I'm more of a believer that you need to have that intention of the community professional that is supported with tech, of course, but is taking all
Yeah,
that information to be able to inform the behavior and propose. Because it's easy to say like, let's do events, and
curate, of course. Yeah,
but like, what type of event for what type of community, how often, like what is the format, like there's so many intentional decisions to be taken, the art of gathering, that I think there needs to be some humans in the back, at least, if not on the day-to-day being there. But definitely I'm
you're
seeing that.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like you're saying, like the fact that suddenly it appears in places that we wouldn't expect them, and we're providing that space to see how the community might engage with it directly. And sometimes, having like the co-working that is completely automated, that you can access, but you give the proper resources and you've been able to listen to what's happening, it's extremely interesting to see how it actually operates and evolves.
I agree with you. Yes, I think that the kind of fully automated co-working like operations, right, like humanless, personless operations, is totally possible, and it is a valid business model.
It has.
But I wouldn't call it a co-working space. I would call it shared space, flexible office, or flexible open space, but not a co-working. Because to me, co-working is about community collaboration, and and community, like, and I think that talking about humanless co-working is like, there's a lot of conversation about AI recently, and people are saying that AI is going to like replace jobs and like replace us, right? So like some people say, oh, let's use AI for like electronic governance and like replace. So it's for me like co-working space without a leader in the community is almost like having a country with AI at the top from the comics, right? Like where like there's no president, there's no prime minister, there's only AI like operating the country, right? So it's awkward, and I don't think it's something that we'll see anytime soon, because I think people need people like human touch, and only people have the creativity, and they have this like empathy that is required to create a feeling of sense of environment where I can feel like I belong, and that where I can feel like I'm enabled, right,
Yeah.
as a professional, and I can flourish myself. So I agree with you that no matter how much you can automate the space, co-working space requires a community manager. I believe that this is one of the first hires co-working spaces need to do, really, to focus on that part. What do you think?
I mean, I'm sold 100%. I think the community manager should be one of the first hire, and they should be able to help with the programming and the developing of, the tech, the space. And like you were saying, like you just gave the example of the survey that you did with people saying, hey, they're coming and joining
Yeah.
because they want to have that sense of belonging. No? They're just saying that through like, I want to be part of events, I want to be part of a community. If to be like by myself, I could do it at home. And it's already, I mean, we all know it, like it was already difficult, but after the pandemic, like the pandemic of loneliness that we're experiencing, we are
Yeah.
human. We're humans. We're supposed to be social beings, and people are hungry and starving for going back to like real life interactions. Like it's great that we're doing this, and I'm glad, right? We're able to connect. And right now, I'm sitting in Dominican Republic, in Poland. We're having this conversation. It's wonderful, but I'm sure the day that we meet in person, it's going to be a whole different experience, and the way that we're going to approach, how we work together, how we interact, it takes it to the next level. So I do believe that in the future we're gonna more and more be craving and wanting these spaces to meet in real life. We're gonna need someone to help us design for them, being there to facilitate. So the community manager, and to be quite frank, if we want to be able to build that world, tech needs to be hand in hand, being like the support system that can help us that, because otherwise I don't know about you, Igor, but me that I've been in this space for a while. When you talk about community and you talk about, getting real investment being behind it, it's a bit like intangibles. Like we're talking almost about something that is creative. How do you bring it down and make sure that they see the return on the investment? And I think that's where, thanks to tech and thanks to putting the proper metrics and really being data focused and being able to show like, hey, we're doing the proof of concept, we're creating different points of information that shows the impact that it's having, there's going to be a certain level of comfort of making the money also follow and want to invest in these experiences, because they're understanding how key it is to build these spaces and build this profession. Like you're saying, community manager right now, you can't study that in university. So the great community managers that I've had the chance to work with, they're self-made. They come from different backgrounds. They have that passion for people, and then now that we're helping them train and develop. But it's still something probably like software development was like 20 years ago, where the great coders were learning on their own, and now you can do a hackathon and learn how to code, and I don't know
Yeah,
what
you're right. Honestly, Marta, I think you mentioned that you can't study community management in the university. I think university should seriously look at that, honestly, because like this sounds like a much better job, potential job than whatever bullshit they're teaching in the universities right now. But like you actually mentioned one very interesting point that I totally agree with, and it's the metrics, and like how can we measure success of co-working space communities. And that kind of brings me back, just recalled, like every year we do a survey on SpaceBring, and we ask our customers what they think about our product, what they, you know, sometimes we ask them some questions that we are truly wondering about, just asking them to share their experience, their insights. And a few years ago, I remember we asked our customers this question, was like, how do you measure community engagement? And like I would say that a vast majority, like if everyone but a few spaces said no. And this was quite striking to us, because we realized that there's so much room for improvement here when it comes to data driven business development, and like just understanding their metrics and their efforts. We view business as an endless optimization of business processes, basically endless A/B testing, right? Endless A/B testing. For us, this is what the business is all about. We make a test, we measure, we make changes, we wait, we measure, we make changes, and we just continuously optimize for the outcome that we wish to receive. And so in co-working spaces, when you start working in community, I do observe that sort of like somewhat somewhat a big challenge to actually understand and wrap their head around the the best way to measure the outcome, to define it. Even sometimes kind of hard to even define what community really is. And I think and in many ways we this is where SpaceBring comes in, because with our product we give them not only the tools for to amplify the community managers efforts when it comes to programming, event programming, or like communication, or like bring people together through like a community channels and feeds, but we'll also give them the tools to measure the social interaction and engagement behind that, right? For example, what was the attendance at events, which types of events member attend most likely to attend, you know, what social media, what social posts they made on the app gathered the most likes and comments, right? So things like that help them understand. This is how software like SpaceBring platform can help them understand, help them measure community, and help them continuously evolve their practices and kind of optimize them for success. And generally, this very much aligns with what our product is designed to do. We're designed to create a unified platform where they not only automate operations, which is something that is, I think, is a given, right? Everyone needs to stop spending time on manual invoicing and payment collection. It should be
You don't
automated,
know
okay?
how that's and how much of a headache that is in the majority of the spaces that we.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, even at we're a huge organization, and every summit we had to be spending time talking about the billing, and we had our own
yeah.
platform. On like it is a big headache.
Absolutely, yeah. And then, like, I honestly believe there's no excuse anymore to have to have it fully automated. We have all the infrastructure that we need to do that, but then they need to take a step forward and invest into a community management aspect as well, and then not forget to measure it, like you said. And then there is this dimension of our product where we help them offer amazing customer experiences, like when it comes to visit management or shop that allows people to like buy coffee in the app, right? It's just a simple thing like that is actually um, making a difference sometimes, you know. And then this is how our product kind of brings together all the pieces of a puzzle that they need to build this like amazing infrastructure to empower professionals co-working space, right? To become that service center that I mentioned earlier, that we believe where the industry is headed to, right? When co-working space becomes that sort of like a provider of services, space services, professional services, all kinds of services. And we already see that among our customer base. We already see that demand. We see that vector of development alongside the vector towards a more specialized spaces. like space with childcare and the
Yeah.
warehousing, beauty, and so on.
I mean, us naturally, like we operate a space in Barcelona, Club Caramel. Shout out to the team there, and we specialize it in making it much more about a co-working that it is actually you can be messy in it as opposed to maybe other spaces where you go to work on the computer. You can do more crafty things. It's thought out to be able to move furniture around, do events, have that multidisciplinary approach to it. And naturally, because you attract that type of people, they're asking for more services to be added. It's not only about like, oh, I'm coming and yes, it's great for the networking. I'm coming to grow my business, meet the other people, but also, can you help me and then fill the blank? And so when we started to see with your platform that it was easy to be able to add on layering of different services that you can provide, whether it's simply like you're saying, like, hey, just the coffee, just some swag, some basics cover, but you can get much more creative in terms of, I'm actually going to offer a content management strategy that helps them with their businesses because that's our forte. Let's say that we can bring as well. We're going to help with the production of their own events, like other things that you can be adding on. And I agree with you that I'm seeing more and more co-working and third spaces not only wanting to do that, but to be fair, having to do that to be able to grow without always having to grow their square meter footage, right? Like they need to be able to provide more services so they can grow their business too. And once they've covered how to do the operations, it's only natural that you want to serve, your community by providing more things. If you've been able to listen, like what do they need? Let me get them
Yeah,
for.
you're right. You're right. I always emphasize that co-working space is a multidimensional business. It's a very multifaceted environment, and like sometimes people think, okay, I just have like a couple empty rooms, a couple chairs. I'm just gonna throw it in there, and then throw in a booking system. That's gonna be my co-working space. Well, that's not how it works. It could start like that, certainly, and then like when you start like that, you discover that, oh, there's that, oh, there's this, or there's something else, and then you end up. We have several customers who started with like a really small, like a room with just 12 chairs, and then they expand into like 4 locations in the downtown, right? So and it is always exciting to see how ideas grow and develop.
And I'm curious because you were mentioning how the data is helping a bit to change behavior. Do you have some examples that maybe you never would have thought that could have happened thanks to the information that you provide without naming?
That's an interesting question. I think, first of all, I would say that we use data in 2 ways. First of all, we empower our clients to have the data that they need to grow their business and to understand our customers. But also, we use sort of like aggregate, depersonalized data internally to understand how people use our app. And yeah, there's just so many things you can share. But honestly, we'll have not a we'll leave all the rest of the day to talk about it. But yeah, the way people use our product informs our development in many ways. And a lot of times, I'm the one who is sharing this with our clients, these insights, and they're quite shocked. For example, we're always keeping a track of like how people book rooms, right? And then we know that our data shows that, for example, something like 84 to 87% of all bookings are created for the next
The day before.
12 hours. Yeah, for the next 12 hours,
The last
right?
minute, I thought it
12 to
was
20.
a natural thing.
Right, so you might think, and then we do regularly get a lot of requests from co-working space like, oh, how can I limit that people can't book like more than 2 weeks in advance, or like how can I make sure that people can't use their credits for like the next week.
Yeah.
And then I always reply to them like, I always share this figure with them, like of how, like, did you know that like almost 90% of all people, they actually book for the next 12 hours. And then this changes a lot in their perspective. It's just a good example of how data can inform your policies, your business models, and your even like a software product as well. But yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of our clients to build those cases. We publish them all publicly on our marketing website. It's on the spacebring.com/case studies. I think it's just somewhere there on our website. Yeah, and then we do have lots of case studies there where we publish like very interesting cases where our product helped increase customer engagement, occupancy, in so many cases when they couldn't really engage customers because something wasn't working in the legacy app that they used before. And then they upgraded to SpaceBring. Things became just much easier, less steps, less friction, easier to use, resulted in almost like 100% adoption. So yeah, all of those cases on our website. I invite you to check them out later. But
Yeah.
it's
And I love
interesting
the
stuff.
example. I love the example you were giving because I think we're all prone to that. Sometimes we look at the outlier, like that one thing that uh, you think is like, oh, that must be telling me that there's so much more of this behavior that is happening. No, the black swan effect. Like this actually, if I
Right.
notice it means that all this happening, and then sometimes it doesn't need some data. Be like, no, actually, it's just the outlier, and that's fine. You don't need to be focusing all your time, and maybe it's okay to let go of that one
Exactly. Yeah.
person that is booking 2 weeks before when all the rest is going pretty smoothly, right?
Yeah. We always when we talk about this with our clients, we always ask them a few simple questions. And I recommend everyone listening, if you have any challenge in your business, just ask the simple questions. How often does this occur? Once a day, once a month, once every 6 months? What impact does this have on your business? Like quantitatively, right? What's the impact, right? Um, and once you look at these two numbers, you will understand that a majority of things that worry you aren't actual problems. They're more of a consequence of something else that is a problem. so, so we need to always ask these questions and keep looking for the true problem. And sometimes the problem is not in software or like even in your business process. Sometimes it's the human behavior. Sometimes it's the culture. You can't change easily. You can, of course, but you can't easily change people culture. Yes, yes. So in many ways, like sometimes you get this question, like a co-working space somewhere in the country where like there's relatively less trust between people that know each other, and they're like, oh, we want to build an unmanned co-working space in the country X, and then they're like, how can it make sure that people can get in, but they can't like break anything, they can't steal anything, they have to stay in the meeting room only within the booking time and never not overstay. And I'm always telling them, no matter what technical solutions we implement to prevent people from staying longer in a meeting room, or like prevent them from like by using access control with our amazing partners, or cutting off their Wi-Fi access. We have one customer who's cutting off electricity in the meeting room. The booking is over, electricity is done. You just imagine like sitting with a customer. There's like a dark room, boom. and so and so, no matter what you do, if people want to overstay, if they have this intention, they'll always find a way to do it. Always. They'll put their shoe in the door so that the door doesn't lock. They'll use the light on their phone to light something up. They'll go and ask a favor to community manager, and community manager can never say no, right? It's your customer. So people will always find a way. So I think that a lot of a lot of challenges that co-working space try to tackle, they're actually underlying in human psychology. And this is something also we probably need to understand and think about. It's exciting.
It's, to me, it's fascinating. I always say with the community
Yeah.
managers that we bring on board and work with, you're going to get a master in people once you start to operate and work in co-working environments,
Oh
because
yeah.
you
100%.
see how people are behind, like you're saying, getting very creative on getting what they need. You also see how they interact with one another, how they try to seduce people, because hey, in co-working is not only business that it's happening, right? There is human interaction. So people fall in
Yes.
love, people fight, there is conflict, and yeah, that
People just being people.
people just
Right.
being people. But to be fair, it's people just being people heightened, because it is spaces that are built to help them interact with one another, connect, and having that bit more of a
Yeah.
collusion. So you do see it a bit more in
Yeah.
accelerated mode. That's why businesses
Yeah.
also go to these spaces.
It's like a
But
kindergarten, but for adults. In the kindergarten, you send your kids, and your kids are like, they have a time for playing, they have a time for studying, time for eating. There's a time for everything there. And then kindergarten for adults is a co-working space, right? That's where you get everything you need.
exactly. And now it's time for
Right.
teamwork because sometimes I forget to. But it's good.
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
I love that framework. Like to try to bring things down to like quantify sometimes. Like how often does this happen? What's the real impact? And taking a step back to see if it makes sense to
Is this
dedicate
a challenge? Yeah.
this a chance.
Is this a problem, or is this a consequence of a problem? Because I think a lot of times it's hard to distinguish where is the problem, where is the consequence. You know.
Definitely. And Igor, like you're saying, you said it throughout this conversation, but I would love to hear a bit more on where do you see maybe SpaceBring evolving? Like you're saying, going now into more niche types of co-working slash third spaces, but also maybe I guess your dreams or how you see the team, your team growing, and what are the new challenges that you would like to tackle?
Well, first of all, our vision is to help expand the sharing space economy is the future, and where people have easy access to this amazing, multifaceted, multidimensional shared spaces where they get all the services that they need. They can order the services through the app, and this is our mission here, right? So with our product, we'll make it easy, make it more accessible, make it more easy, user friendly to access, to order, to participate in these spaces, in these multifaceted service centers. And generally, I'm sure SpaceBring will continue to evolve into, by integrating advanced technologies like the AI-driven space optimization. Everyone is talking about this right now. Maybe enhanced access control, enhanced member experiences. This is something we really care about. We strive to build something that's more personalized to each individual user, and this is something where I see the future develop. Um, I
Operations.
think that
I, I,
yeah,
I
I mean,
I want you to like also help the community manager profession to develop and to try to figure out a way where we can help them make sure that they're asking themselves the questions of like what's the identity of my community, how are we going to structure it, like have a little bit of a journey there that can help them.
yes. Honestly, I think every user, every person is probably like, we live this in this age of like this multitude of information around us, and we always need to make choices of whether we need to pay attention to this information, right? So the attention that we pay to this is who said it like a few decades ago, right? Attention is the most valuable resource. And so in this attention that we ask for, when it's very valuable, and we need to treat it as such. And when people open SpaceBring made application, our products are white label. That's why probably most of you have never heard about it, because it's most likely going to be like your local co-working space app, right, made by SpaceBring. That when they open it, they always ask this. There's always this question on the table, like, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What can I do here? And then, like, I think there should be, whether you are an administrator who is managing with your community manager, whether you are a user who is just going in the app to quickly book a room for the next 4 hours, you need to quickly understand what's in it for you and have that personalized experience that's catered towards your needs and what you need right now. And there is a lot to do here, of course, for all of us, for technology companies, for co-working spaces to offer those services, for us to help surface those services, making them easier to find, easier and more accessible. And of course, the community side, operations side, every user need to be successful, right? And so I see our role in this, and just facilitating that process, kind of building something that's more enhanced, more seamless, and more personalized. This personalized experiences on the go and uh, on the web. This is where we are headed to. So yeah, by integrating all of these technologies, by supporting it with whatever new advances we make on all fronts in terms of infrastructure, AI, and so much more. It's interesting that the we've all heard about this Microsoft bug, CloudStrike bug, right? Which kind of a lot of people suffered in the airports, being stuck there, and like the trains, and but no company, of course, is immune such cases. So I could only empathize with the people who suffered from this outage, and the companies that probably lost trillions of dollars and euros in damages because of this bug. But like, what's interesting is that on SpaceBring, for example, our uptime is 100%, and this is because we use a different type of infrastructure, which is not centralized, right? Our and a bit more modern, serverless, microservice type of infrastructure that allows us to operate with 100% uptime. Each individual module of our product is like independently operated. It's very efficient. It's very fast. So it's just an example of how using modern technology could help us provide a very seamless and stable product, a platform to co-working spaces. And there is a lot more to uncover and use and offer, because I think we are only getting started here.
I absolutely love that you are pointing out to that literally about the, I mean, because I think it's a way of thinking, right? Like you're building in a decentralized form, and that makes you more resilient. But also, it's a way of, I think, valuing like the smaller, more flexible, agile system versus that one, large
Chunk,
monopoly,
yeah.
which
Yeah,
have,
monolith, yeah.
that that one that wants to dominate it all versus like, hey, I want to live in a world where I don't see like one Starbucks and one McDonald's. I want to see like multiple smaller coffees that are different depending on where you're at, that they're, different types of businesses owners, and that they're all thriving and successful, and see that diversity and that plurality that is coming out. And I think for you, that's core of how you're building, how you're thinking, and also how you're building your team. I think, no, as well. Like, yes, you're based out of Poland, but you're comfortable partnering with and being operational in multiple different countries. Culturally, it's not a challenge to you to translate or making it available for different types of.
It's not a challenge, Marta. It's not a challenge because our company has values. And this is something that not every company does. Our company values responsibility, transparency, but we also really care about co-working values like inclusivity and diversity. And it is because we cherish these values, we are able to build a company that can cater towards multicultural backgrounds. And I'm not talking about the multiculturalism policies of some countries, which I think led to a huge disaster. I'm talking about the localization, the ability to reach out and talk to local communities over in the most remote places of our planet, even like, I don't know, customers in Curacao, right, or our customer in the Bali or in Riyadh or in London or Tel Aviv. All of these co-working spaces, they all have their own local cultures and their own local um, community standards, business practices, and yes, because our company is cherishing diversity and inclusivity, that's why we are able to reach out and connect with all of them. And I think this is what it takes. If your company has values and puts values over business, then you'll be able to be truly successful. I strongly believe in this.
And I couldn't resonate more. And I think like for us at GroundInn, that's not only what we strive for, but also when we're selecting the type of businesses that we want to help grow and work with, we're also mindful of that, because a bit like yourself, we're not a white label, but we are that agency in the background that is rooting for your growth, that is helping you build your businesses, your operations, and so on. And so it's very important that we're cheering like, to be quite frank, that we're cheering the ones that are sharing similar values, because you want to build a world where that's what's winning, the team that is winning versus
Yes, exactly.
you
Promote those values, because
know
these are good values,
yeah.
right? Co-working values, in my opinion, are the values that can actually make our world a better place as a whole. And I'm a strong proponent of co-working associations, which can help co-working spaces thrive in local countries. SpaceBring sponsors financially and with every resource we have these local co-working associations in all around the world, in Australia, in Canada, in Switzerland, in Ukraine, in many other countries. We work with London Co-working Assembly to kind of help them organize their events. We always sponsor conferences like Co-working Spain amazing conference there, or Co-working Europe. So I think this is one of the things we can do together, right? Even if we compete, even if we still have a lot of shared values in this co-working industry, and I think we need to promote them. We can't just sit and wait for someone else to do it for us. The value of co-working is the value of the future, society in which we all live in prosperity and peace, diversity, inclusivity, right? All the openness. You mentioned about the space, the Caramel Club Caramel that you operate in Barcelona, and you say it's a bit chaotic inside. It's not. It's actually the principle of openness, right? People can come, and they can enjoy this open environment where I can sit where I want, I can move my chair where I want, and I can just be there, right? So I think this is a testament of how openness can be helping to build a successful community. And I think in the future, this is something that will help us build a more successful society.
Well, I think on that high note, this was an excellent conversation. Igor, it was a real pleasure for me to take this time. For me, it's in the morning, for you, it's in the afternoon, to get to know you a bit more. For all of our audience that is watching right now, I hope it was as insightful and valuable as it was for us. If they want to continue following you, read about you, join even, maybe you're looking for new potential team members to join the team, how can they do so?
Well, I'm sure we'll throw some links in the description of this episode. So yeah, feel free to go to spacebring.com or find me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect. Marta, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, to talk to you, to share my thoughts, to learn from you also as an amazing professional. And I can't wait to to visit someday the Club Caramel, and visit you in the Dominican Republic as well. And I can't wait to see the future that we build together.
Same. Well, it's been a real pleasure and have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you.